Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Max with BuzzTox here, and I'm finally back with a Westworld Season 2 news video. And before we get started, I just want to quickly issue a spoiler warning. If you don't want to know anything about the upcoming season of Westworld, please leave this video right now. But for those of you who stuck around, let's get right into it. And our first story focuses in on the release of Westworld Season 2. And all we knew is that Westworld was going to release in spring 2018, but we didn't know when. And it seems like that's been confirmed by Jeffrey Wright, and he plays Bernard Lowe of the series. He put out a tweet and told everyone that he would see them back online in April, but then quickly re-edited his tweet and changed it to spring 2018. So it's very clear that Jeffrey Wright messed up, and he by accidentally announced that Westworld would be released in April of 2018. And I think that this is true, and I think that it makes a lot of sense. And the reason it makes so much sense is because April used to be Game of Thrones' window for release. Game of Thrones always released in April until their later seasons, where they needed more production time and they had fewer episodes. And now that Game of Thrones is being pushed to next year, it makes sense that they take Westworld, their second biggest television show, and open it in Game of Thrones' spot. So I would expect Westworld to be released either in the second or third week of April, and I think that that will be announced to us in the next trailer. And the next trailer could drop potentially in the next 2 months. And that takes us to our second biggest story, and that is Samurai World. In the last season, we were teased that there's more worlds than just Westworld, and we were specifically given a samurai or shogun tease world that we all looked forward to potentially seeing in Season 2. I, for one, thought that it was just a tease to the concept of more worlds, and we wouldn't necessarily see the samurai world, but I think in this case, I was wrong. We're seeing leaks that are coming out more and more that prove that we are definitely going to be seeing a samurai or shogun world. First of all, the producers of the show have confirmed that we're going to be seeing more than one world in Season 2. But we start to see what this world is based on cast leaks and set leaks. A Japanese actor called Hiroki Sanada has been cast and credited with 2 untitled episodes, Episode 5 and Episode 6. And his name is called Musashi. So I think it's a pretty safe bet to think that he's going to be playing a samurai. As well as we have seen set leaks for Westworld Season 2. And we see a specific structure that has a samurai shape and samurai color, and it is very clear that this is Japanese culture, as well as it would be a part of this world. So we can expect to see that in Westworld Season 2. So the only question is, how are they going to introduce this new samurai world? Is Maeve going to have to go in that world to find her daughter? Or will Dolores try and enter these new worlds to bring sentience to her fellow hosts? And that would be her role in the upcoming season, is the Judas steer. She has everybody follow her to the slaughter, which is consciousness. But that takes us to our third story, and it's the most interesting one of all, is that we're going to be getting 3 character returns that were not expected. We already know that we're going to be seeing Abernathy, Angela, all these hosts that have been established in the previous seasons. But some characters have been confirmed that we're not necessarily going to expect. First of all, we're going to be seeing Jemmy Simpson and Ben Barnes returning. For those of you who don't know, that's young William and Logan. William was such a huge part of her life, it would make sense for her to constantly look back and reflect on what she's been through with William. And that's where Jemmy Simpson would be useful. And I think young William will also come up a lot every time she interacts with the Man in Black. Because now Dolores knows that they're one and the same, and I think it will be hard for her to distinguish the two at this point. And I think Logan will return in a similar fashion. I think he also left a huge stamp on Dolores, and I think he'll be upcoming in a lot of revisions also. And one other way we can see these 2 characters is through the Man in Black reflecting on the past. We know his backstory and how the park made him kind of find who he was. And he became cut off from his family. And I think we could potentially see the relationship grind between Logan and William after the events of the park in Season 1. So I think that would be really interesting to see. And the last character that will be returning is Anthony Hopkins. And that would seem pretty much impossible because he got his head blown off in the last season. But it would make sense to bring him back because he is top talent and he had a huge role to play in the development of the park. And he could return in multiple ways. The first way that I seriously doubt is that he was printing a body in his office. He could have been creating a host version of himself. And I seriously doubt that for multiple reasons. The primary reason is that Anthony Hopkins is older and you don't want to commit an actor like Anthony Hopkins to your show. And if you create a host version of him, you're pretty much committing him to the whole run of the show. So I think Anthony Hopkins will play more of a passive role as Ford. And I think he'll play that role through Bernard. We know that Bernard has a great respect for Ford, and that relationship flourished even more at the end of Season 1, where we discovered that Ford was actually fighting for the hosts. So I think that we'll see Ford a lot through Bernard's reveries, and we'll be learning further about the depths of Bernard's development, and he'll be taking what he learns from Ford and applying that to his fellow hosts. Because just like how Dolores is the Judas steer and helping people find their consciousness inside the park, Bernard is protecting them outside of the park. And lastly, our news focuses in on casting. And we got a list of some new characters and actors that have been assigned to play them. And the first character is Jonathan Tucker. He was cast to play Major Craddock. So I think what you can take from that is a military name. And I think that further proves that the military is going to play a strong role in this season. Because after the events of Ford's party, there are guests still in the park, and the hosts seem to be running rampant. So that's a military issue, and I think the military will be coming in to potentially try and save guests from these hosts. And the second actress that has been cast is called Katja Herbers, and her character is classified as a seasoned guest in Westworld whose latest visit comes at the park's darkest hour. So her character tells us a lot of things. For one, we're going to be following the guest perspective as well as the host perspective. So we're going to see what it's like as a guest surviving in the park. And she's going to be good at it because she's been doing it for so long. And I think her story could potentially factor in with the Man in Black. But one interesting detail about her character is the actress came forward and said that she loved working with Anthony Hopkins. And we know that he's dead, so it will be really interesting to see how a guest of Westworld interacts with Ford, the dead creator of the park. But that is it, everybody. Please let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Let me ask you, how do you think Samurai World will be used in Westworld Season 2? But until next time, I'll see you guys later.